Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Studio PKH. I'm doing a follow-up video to my last video on embracing keyboard shortcuts in order to enhance your workflow inside of Cubase. And actually, on that front, just in the last couple days, I've rediscovered a product, this one here, Stream Deck. I had originally discounted this as most of the marketing material, most of the videos that I found online, this was all about content creation for gamers, for people that were live streaming, and I didn't really think it would fit. And then in the last couple days, I've actually discovered a couple of videos of studio owners that have worked this into their workflow as well, and it's kind of like keyboard shortcuts on steroids. So I'm fully bought in. I'm hoping to pick one up in the next couple days and do my next video on how well Stream Deck actually works and, pros and cons, stuff like that. But yeah, so this, today's video is a little bit around sort of an extension of the keyboard shortcuts, as well as repurposing what I call single-use hardware. So if you've watched the previous video, one of the things that you'll know is I would love to get my hands on a full hardware control surface, and I just can't justify the cost, not for what I'm doing. But I was always kind of looking for ways of enhancing my workflow, of trying to get that old school hardware feel. And so one of the things that I discovered the other day in researching all of this was that I might be able to repurpose a piece of single-use hardware, or at least what I thought was single-use hardware. So you can see on the screen, I've got an Akai MPD218, and I picked up this hardware in order to sort of sketch out drum patterns in Easy Drummer 2. And I got to say, it's a great piece of gear. It only cost me about 150 bucks Canadian. Really solid, very subtle, like just performs really well. I really, really like it. But you can see it's got 6 knobs off on the left-hand side. I've never used them. And I started thinking the other night, after I saw the Stream Deck, I started wondering if I could repurpose those knobs within Cubase. And I got to say, it was frustrating in the digging that I was doing. The Steinberg help was kind of cryptic, really didn't allow me to do much of anything that I was trying to do. Nobody was really talking about this in YouTube videos until I discovered this video here from PictureLockAudio. I want to give these guys a shout out because this particular video around generic remote and Cubase pointed me in the right direction of what I was trying to do, and ultimately led me to be able to do exactly what I wanted. So kudos to those guys, man. It's a great video. It really, really helped. Okay, so I'm within Cubase, and I've got just a basic project here. I've got a couple of VSTs from East West Symphonic Orchestra, and I created a couple of just dummy vocal tracks. One of the things I want to do is I want to use the volume knobs on the Akai to control the mixer within Cubase. And what PictureLockAudio pointed me in the right direction of is this. I'm using Cubase Elements 9.5. If you go up to Studio and go to Studio Setup, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see Remote Devices. Now, originally I had Track Quick Controls and VST Quick Controls, and that wasn't going to do what I wanted it to do. So I hit the plus button, I created a generic remote. Now, this is where things got confusing, and this is where their video helped. The generic remote comes in 2 parts. The top part is essentially telling Cubase what your controller looks like. The bottom part is telling Cubase how it should process the signals it receives from that controller. So theoretically, my MIDI input is the MPD218. My MIDI output is my URRT2. I've got in the top section here, I've got faders from 1 to 16. I haven't tested out if you can do anything more than that. Ideally, I've got 18 knobs on the MPD218, so I'm hoping I can add 2 more into this mix. But one of the things that you have to do in here is you have to sort of tell Cubase where each control on your piece of hardware is located. So what you're going to do is, the easiest way to do this is to select fader 1, click on Learn, and then I'm going to come over to my piece of hardware and I'm just going to turn the knob. And what you'll notice is that if you, let me get back to bank A here, you'll notice that in turning the knob, it goes to 1. If I grab the next knob over, you'll see it's 2, then 3, but I want this first one to be the first knob. So go into the first position, click, rotate, do whatever with your control, go to the next one, same thing, next one, same thing, until you've mapped out everything that you need to do with your hardware. And then I take it out of Learn. And now the bottom part, this was actually what really threw me. I thought I was going to be able to map each fader up top to each fader at the bottom, and that's not the way that Cubase works. The way Cubase works is that for every track that you actually have in your project, it will assign it automatically to a fader. So you can see here I've got stereo in, my 3 VSTs, my 2 audio tracks, and then stereo out. So if I actually go back into the project and go and create, I'm going to just add another instrument track. I'm going to add Easy Drummer 2 just for the sake of adding something. I'll throw that in on the bottom there. Now, when I go back to my studio setup, what you'll see here is that Cubase has added Easy Drummer 2 down to fader number 7 automatically. And I won't get into it in this video because it's more in depth than it needs to be, but under value action, rather than volume, you can actually have the knob or the button do a number of different things. And it's interesting, depending on what you pick for MIDI status, that will determine the choices that you have down here. So this is actually really, really powerful. But like I say, it's not necessary for this particular video. So once I had the top set up in terms of where the location of each of the hardware knobs, and then had the bottom set up in terms of these are the tracks that I needed to listen to, if I come back into my project and I go into my mixer, if I hit, or if I start to turn knob number 1, there's your stereo in and out. Track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if I flip over to my second bank, there's track number 6. And then over here, there's my stereo output. And I gotta say, I was really, really happy to get this set up. I haven't actually had a chance to use it yet. I got this sort of in place yesterday. So over the weekend, I'm hoping to make use of it on some bigger projects that I have on the go. But it's really nice to know that you can, like I say, you can repurpose single-use technology. It's very, very cool. So yeah, I hope the video helps. If it does, I'd love for you to give it a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. I've got a couple of other videos that are coming up relatively soon around more sort of making better use of things within Cubase, and a couple of compositional ones that I'm trying to get done, and a video editing one. But yeah, lots of good stuff on the go. I hope you guys enjoy and take care.